With her in the league, 5 games into it, we sold more merch than us all of last year. No matter how we feel about the attention she's getting, our is being sold. People are watching us now. The fact that she's making the league more popular for the masses, it's benefiting you guys. Everyone's a sold out arena seeing that. The girls who are actually playing, we get to see you now. She can't sign every deal, so that means it has a trickle-down effect, right? Every loaf of bread she gets, some slices is coming off. Someone has to get that slice. Before there was no loaf. There was crumbs. Loaves are coming now. Be excited.
The WNBA has just encountered its most formidable challenge yet, and her name is Caitlin Clark. She isn't merely breaking records, she's dismantling the very framework of the league itself. A rookie fresh out of college has ignited an unprecedented wave of disruption, forcing nationwide venue upgrades, selling out NBA-sized arenas at an astonishing rate, and singularly accounting for over 26% of all WNBA-related activity. This isn't just media hype, it's systemic upheaval. Teams are canceling concerts, rescheduling games, and even vacating their own arenas simply to accommodate the chaos that follows Clark and the Indiana Fever. While she's been humorously dubbed the scheduling conflict, the reality is far more profound. She's a seismic event, a walking, shooting, ticket-printing juggernaut. And while the league is currently cashing in on her meteoric rise, an unspoken question looms. What happens when one player grows larger than the league itself? When franchises, venues, and even the fundamental notion of home court advantage begin to warp under the weight of her presence? Is this the dawn of a golden era for the WNBA, or is it the silent construction of an imbalance that could eventually unravel everything the league has worked to build? So let's break it all down. The financial windfall, the viral frenzy, the underlying tensions, and why Caitlin Clark's unprecedented stardom may be both the WNBA's greatest breakthrough and its most precarious dilemma. But before we dive into the storm, make sure to like and subscribe, because what's unfolding in the WNBA right now is bigger than basketball. It's a transformation no one, not the teams, not the league, not even the fans, seems quite ready to reckon with. First up, the scheduling crisis. If you're a WNBA executive and see Indiana Fever on your schedule, you have 2 options: either adapt to the tidal wave or get swept away by it. Because Clark isn't just visiting, she's arriving with an entire orbit. Television crews, ticket scalpers, casual spectators, TikTok vloggers, and an influx of first-time attendees who, just months ago, couldn't tell a 3-second violation from a backcourt violation. And the league? It's struggling to keep up. Take the Fever's upcoming matchup against the Dallas Wings. Originally slated for College Park Center, a cozy 7,000-seat venue, it has now been relocated to American Airlines Center, the 20,000-seat home of the Dallas Mavericks. Why? Because 7,000 seats wouldn't even begin to meet demand. And this isn't an isolated case, far from it. The Atlanta Dream made a similar move, shifting their home opener from the modest 3,500-seat Gateway Center to the cavernous 16,888-seat State Farm Arena. A team representative cited a scheduling conflict as the reason, but fans weren't buying it. Social media caught on instantly, dubbing Clark the scheduling conflict herself. If you've seen the viral meme of her casually sipping from a straw, exuding the quiet confidence of someone who knows she runs the league, well, there's a reason it resonates. But let's talk about what truly makes this situation extraordinary: the economics. People are calling it Clarkonomics, and it's not just a clever catchphrase, it's an economic reality. In her rookie year alone, Clark generated an estimated $36 million in direct economic impact for Indianapolis. One player, one city, one season. And it doesn't stop there. Analysts estimate that Clark was responsible for a staggering 26.5% of all WNBA-related activity in 2024, whether in ticket sales, merchandise, or television ratings. To put it plainly, for every 6 WNBA tickets sold, 1 is directly attributable to Caitlin Clark. This goes beyond fanfare. It's infrastructure. Cities are recalibrating their planning around her appearances. Teams are restructuring marketing strategies. Arena staff are working overtime. And the Fever, newly nominated for Sports Team of the Year by the Sports Business Journal, are proving that Clark's impact isn't just reshaping the WNBA, it's redefining how women's basketball is packaged, marketed, and consumed at every level. But as with all great shifts, there's a flip side, one that could pose serious questions for the league's long-term stability. Is the WNBA becoming too dependent on a single star? What does it mean when every road game feels like a home game, not for the local team, but for Clark? The Fever are supposed to be visitors in hostile environments, yet everywhere they go, they're greeted by arenas packed with fans wearing Clark jerseys, chanting her name, and driving record-breaking ticket sales. Atlanta, Dallas, Chicago. Each of these cities has restructured their venues specifically to accommodate her. But in doing so, who loses? The actual home teams, whose fans are now outnumbered, whose advantages are diluted, whose revenue streams may be shifting to accommodate a player who isn't even on their roster. And while Clark dominates the headlines, her teammates have found their own ways to step into the spotlight. Take Sophie Cunningham, newly acquired from the Phoenix Mercury. She made an instant splash, not just with her on-court presence, but with a now-viral bikini cowgirl photo shoot, posing in front of a pickup truck, clad in black boots, a matching bikini, and a cowboy hat. It wasn't just aesthetic, it was calculated. Captioned with the phrase, "Get in, loser, we're going back, rodent." The post racked up 30,000 likes and secured its own media frenzy. But Cunningham isn't just playing the PR game. She's fully embracing her role alongside Clark, even dubbing her the Taylor Swift of the WNBA and proudly claiming the role of her Sabrina Carpenter, the supporting act, the hype girl, the sidekick with front-row seats to the main event. Then there's Lexi Hull, quieter off the court, but just as savvy in leveraging the moment. Recently, she secured a major endorsement deal with Athleta, one of the premier women's fitness brands. Describing the partnership as a perfect alignment of empowerment, community building, and giving back, Hull has carved out her own niche within the Fever's rapidly growing cultural phenomenon. And unlike many athletes who rely on stylists for their game day fashion, Hull has taken a different route, curating her own wardrobe, building her brand organically, and proving that this new WNBA era isn't just about one star, but about the ecosystem being built around her. So where does this leave the WNBA? Is Caitlin Clark its most transformative revolution, or its most precarious gamble? Because while the league revels in the unprecedented surge of visibility, revenue, and cultural momentum she has generated, an underlying fragility is beginning to surface. What happens when a singular athlete becomes the axis upon which an entire organization spins? When ticket sales, broadcast deals, and even venue selections are dictated by her presence. The WNBA has spent decades cultivating parity, competitive integrity, and long-term sustainability, yet now it finds itself at an inflection point, teetering between an era of exponential growth and a potentially destabilizing over-reliance on one player. What if Clark's trajectory is disrupted by injury? What if her performance stagnates under the weight of impossible expectations? Or what if the novelty wears off, leaving the league scrambling for a contingency plan it never put in place? Yet, while Clark commands the lion's share of attention, she is far from the only story shaping this new era of women's basketball. Fashion, for instance, has become an extension of on-court identity. Just ask Angel Reese, Clark's former collegiate rival turned professional powerhouse with the Chicago Sky. If Clark is the WNBA's economic catalyst, Reese is its defensive cornerstone. Her dominance in the unrivaled league this offseason, where she secured Defensive Player of the Year honors, averaged 12.1 rebounds per game, and anchored the league's premier scoring defense, was a masterclass in impact beyond the highlight reel. With Reese leading Rose BC to a championship and securing a national media spotlight, including a personal shout-out from Taylor Rooks, her presence in the league is proving just as seismic, albeit in a different way. Alongside elite talents like Chelsea Gray, Nafisa Collier, and Kalia Copper, Reese represents a generation of hoopers playing not just for personal accolades, but for legacy. But here's where the tension escalates. The league is ablaze with momentum, a rookie pulling television ratings comparable to entire franchises, established stars navigating the shifting landscape, and an ecosystem being restructured around a singular, marketable phenomenon. So, what happens when the gravitational pull of Caitlin Clark distorts the balance too much? Right now, the WNBA's entire framework, its calendar, ticket pricing, and even digital engagement strategies, seems increasingly molded around her. The Indiana Fever aren't just another team, they've become the marquee attraction, with every other franchise relegated to the role of supporting cast. What happens when Clark takes a night off? What if injury sidelines her for weeks or months? And, perhaps more provocatively, what happens if another player rises to claim the spotlight? That's the underlying uncertainty beneath all the celebration. On one hand, the WNBA is experiencing an explosion of interest, with unprecedented ticket demand, skyrocketing engagement, and a newfound mainstream appeal. On the other, the structure feels increasingly brittle, too much emphasis on a single individual risks destabilizing the entire system. The scheduling conflict is no longer just about venue logistics, it's about the immense pressure placed on one athlete, the imbalance in media narratives, and the broader implications of hinging an entire league's success on one transcendent figure. Every major sports league faces this dilemma at some point. Do you ride the wave, or do you build an ocean deep enough to sustain the movement long term? Here's the reality no one is explicitly acknowledging. Caitlin Clark isn't just the WNBA's brightest star, she's also its greatest liability. Yes, the league is experiencing record-breaking revenue, engagement, and cultural relevance. But everything is moving at such a rapid pace that it's easy to overlook the cracks forming beneath the surface. The viral scheduling memes, the NBA-sized arenas adjusting to her presence, the fervor of first-time fans. While it's all electrifying, it's also indicative of a potential imbalance. When a single rookie has the power to dictate the financial and competitive ecosystem of an entire league, so much so that her road games resemble home court advantages, the equilibrium begins to erode. Competitively, financially, and culturally, the WNBA is at risk of becoming a monolithic spectacle revolving around one player. And let's not forget, Clark has yet to play a single WNBA regular season game. What happens if she struggles under the pressure? What if she fails to meet the astronomical expectations? Or worse, what if an injury removes her from the equation entirely? The league has centered so much of its 2024 strategy around her that it begs the question, what's the contingency plan? Who else is being developed into a household name? Who else is receiving the necessary push to carry this momentum forward? Meanwhile, players like Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, and Angel Reese are grinding, winning, building personal brands, and establishing themselves as formidable forces. Yet, whether they intend to or not, they're still orbiting around the Clark phenomenon. That's not a sustainable growth model, it's a high-stakes gamble. Because while Clark is undoubtedly generational, the WNBA cannot afford to be a one-player league. Without a deliberate effort to cultivate multiple superstars, spread the media focus, and ensure long-term viability beyond one athlete's career arc, the league isn't just harnessing a star, it's tethering itself to a singular point of potential failure. So yeah, Caitlin Clark is electrifying. She's transformative. She's once in a generation. But if the WNBA doesn't start diversifying its star power, it's walking a fine line between revolution and reckoning. This isn't a Caitlin Clark problem, it's a Caitlin Clark dependency. And that's a risk no one seems prepared to confront. But now, I want to hear from you. Is the WNBA placing too much weight on Caitlin Clark's shoulders? Is the league building a sustainable future, or accidentally crafting a single point of failure? If Clark struggles, gets hurt, or the hype wanes, does the momentum disappear, or has the fanbase finally reached a point of permanence? And what about the other stars? Should the league be doing more to amplify players like Angel Reese, Lexi Hull, or Sophie Cunningham? Or is riding the Clark wave the smartest play for now? Drop your takes in the comments. Wild, serious, hot. I want to hear them all. Is the scheduling conflict a blessing or a ticking time bomb? And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe because trust me, This season is just getting started, and we're going all in. Stay locked in, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.